welcome to Jars to Table, meal ideas in under 15 minutes for those of us that grow, prepare, store our own food. And I just want to, I've got down here at the moment, I'll put a picture up here of what I'm making. But this is, I just wanted to have a very brief conversation, very brief, so stay with me, about seeing our food slightly differently. We're coming towards a different era where I believe that food is going to be seen more as fuel, and how much food that we throw away has got to stop. How we use our food has got to change, and kind of these very convoluted recipes that I grew up with myself. Both my parents were chefs. They're going to have to be minimalized to a certain degree, and we just got to look at food preparation differently, and the menus that we follow, because we're not going to be able to have, or we might not, let's hope not, but many of us are believing that we're coming into a new era where things might be in short supply, and there's a lot of people that I know in the UK especially that just don't know how to cook. So I used to eat a lot of cordon bleu. I was probably one of the first generations in London that tasted the first Indian curry, tasted the first Chinese recipes. I can remember going back, and my parents were always very, very adventurous. But I'm finding that as I get older, I'm having to minimalize everything down a bit. The price of meat is so high that, eating keto is kind of difficult unless you're on a good wage. And so my meats have changed. I'm not happy that I'm eating more potatoes or root vegetables because they're very high in sugar. But everything is, if you're mindful, we're all in an age where everything is going to change. And if you can make food for you and your family, if you have one, that is cheap and that is good for you, nutritious, fills you up, then you can be safe and assured in going towards this next era a little bit more flexible, a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I have no worries about going into a pre-war diet, because I understand potatoes. I understand what they do, how they cook, what I can do with them. I understand how to store for long-term, I can't get my words out this morning, for long-term preservation. I understand how to work with canning, and I go to my butcher, and he likes the fact that I use him, but he laughs at me, the fact that I can all my own meats. But we're the ones that are going to survive and prosper, and those that only know how to use microwaves and they shop weekly, those are the ones that are going to suffer. Those are the ones that are going to look at the bare shelves of the supermarket, or the full shelves of the supermarket that are very expensive, are going to go, I don't know how to eke stuff out. I just don't. So today is a recipe, you can call it a hash. I'd rather us kind of just shelve recipes for a bit and get out of the habit of following recipes. Look at food as, okay, here's an egg, how do I want to use it? Do I want to fry it? Do I want to poach it? Do I want to boil it and add it to mayonnaises, sauces? How do I want to actually use each product? And then once you've got that kind of ethos, you'll be able to make up your own recipes. So today I fancied something fried in butter, I wanted something hashy. I definitely wanted something cheesy. I'm not sure about the eggs at the moment, but I wanted to add some protein into it as well. So I'm going to put those together. I understand that the cheese will be put in last. I understand the potatoes take longer to fry, so they're going to be put in first. I'm then going, once they start to brown, I'm then going to cook this for 10 minutes. I'm going to fry it with the potatoes for 10 minutes because I understand that then it will definitely be safe. I believe it'll be safe to eat this just straight out of the can or the jar, but I'm going to do that anyway because I've got kids, so I'm just a little bit extra careful. If my children actually ate mushrooms and onions, the bane of my life, they don't like a lot of stuff, I would be adding the big chunks of mushroom, big chunks of onions with the potatoes, because I love onions and mushrooms. Okay, so I'm frying all these together. I know that if I cook this in lard, as the potatoes, onions and peppers, you could put peppers in, as it gets slightly cold, the dish begins to solidify. Because lard, when it gets cold, it starts to solidify. I don't want that. I only use cooking oils because they're really bad for you. Any of the cooking oils are bad for your arteries because they act like sandpaper into your arteries. So I will do that occasionally. I do that with fried rice dishes. Butter or ghee. Ghee is you boil the butter off and you scoop off all the protein and you get a clear substance. Now cooking with that, when this goes cold, or when you plate it up, you take it to the dining room table, it's not starting the process of hardening. So that's why I fry with butter or ghee, because I don't want it to start the process of solidifying. But anyway, today I'm going to just do the base of what I'm cooking, and this can be for any meal. You can have it as a breakfast, you can have it as lunch or dinner, and I want you to start the process of thinking, what would I love to add to this? Would I want to add a bit of jalapenos? Would I want to add just root vegetables? Or would I like to have it as it is, but have a nice salad next to it? I want you to start to think about, don't just follow a recipe. Look at not just what's the end product? What do you fancy? Do you fancy adding sweet corn in? What is it you fancy? Would you like this but with canned chicken? Would that be so? Or some pork chops? So it really is about, I just want to have that conversation with you. And but let's get going, because in the kitchen I'm kind of odd here, because on the opposite side of me where I usually film, I'm making wine again, because I've run out, so I'm making wine, so that is all full up, and my oven and hob are broke, so I'm having to just use this little section here right now with my single burner. But let's get going. Okay, so we start off with the butter in the pan, and I'm just going to switch it on actually because I completely forgot to. There we go. Hope you can hear above that noise. And I've dehydrated my potatoes in boiling water, left it for a good 4 hours, and they've been drained. And once the pan gets up to a heat, only then am I going to add this. This is the same time that I would add the onions and the mushrooms, peppers, in nice large chunks, because that's how I like it, but you can have it as you like. And if you notice all the white bits, they're the, I think it's called proteins, but anyway, that's the milk solids. That's separating right now. And the bubbling stuff here, that's the ghee. That's what, if I was, you know, doing a whole pan, that's what I'd be skimming off. But it's getting hot now, so I'm going to add the potatoes. I don't believe in excessive stirring. Just leave it in and just let the potatoes catch a bit. There's no need to panic or rush. But I am going to drain this. I'm going to keep the liquid because that's great gravy for another day, but I don't need gravy today. So that is why, but I am going to keep it. Now, there's lard on the top of the, you see, lard that's on the top of the canned meat. So that's going in as well. It's fat and our bodies and brains need it. Right, I've stirred it once, sort of every minute or every two. I'll just turn it over. If you notice, people always comment about my accent. I do have an occasion to roll my R's, and it can sound a little bit occasionally American-y, but I lived for quite some time in my formative years on an American base. American. So I do occasionally roll my R's, just because of that. But anyway, so you can see they're beginning to brown. Now, for a lot of you know how to do this, but I just thought it needed saying. I'm going to leave it again. Don't keep stirring it. People are fanatical about stirring. If you stir, you won't get the lovely edge. And what happens is, if you keep stirring, what happens is the sides get tough, because the edges will get tough, where I don't want tough, I want crisp. Hash potatoes that you've dehydrated are the longest process. Because one, you're drawing out all of the liquid that's been hydrating it, and that takes a time, which stops the frying. Well, not stops, but it does halter the frying process. I've got it on a medium heat because I don't want to burn it, because I want to draw some of that potato out. I want to make sure that the heat reaches the middle of the wet potato, because basically it's wet potatoes. We're getting there though. And you can see the colours changing. Right, so they've now all pretty much, most of the sides have been toasted. So a little bit of pepper. My kids can take a bit of pepper. But why not add some chilli at this time? And then with my large pieces of beef, I'm just going to break them up because I want to heat this up. Now, because I pre-fried these, they stay together a bit better. Beef is heated through now, and it's now time to add, imagine all the lovely colours of actual veg. That would be great. So now it's time to add cheese. It could be any cheese that you fancy, because it's your dish. Cheese does different things, mattering to what type it is. But this is British cheddar, and I do want it quite cheesy. Fried cheese you'll find that the butter in the cheese will start to separate from the actual cheese. I do want to fry it. I want to get an edge. So I'm just leaving it for a little bit. I can see some bits that are bubbling. And once it starts to separate and bubble, just leave it for a bit. Just leave it until you see a tiny bit of brown starting to come up at the edges. It will make the dish more oily initially, but then you want to turn it to where it's now becoming like a glue. I'm going to add a bit more cheese, and then we're done. And this will stick all the bits together, and it will stick to your ribs. Turn this off. That's it. That's cooked now. Now, I don't quite know what you'd call it, but that is the base for a kind of a cheesy, meaty, potatoey meal. But obviously, you know, add your own vegetables.